Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, and today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a dream. Yum, 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 yummity yum. Bring your sour cream.
Hello, everybody, once again, and welcome back to The Rundown. As you can see, it's only going to be me today, and as you can see, I am at a client's location. I'm not in my normal studio where you would normally see I would have the pro Second Amendment stuff hanging on the back wall, but I am here, and we are gonna have a good time hanging out with y'all today. We're gonna be talking about a bunch of different stuff. We're gonna be talking about all the news, and you're gonna have to forgive me because my technology here is skipping out on me real quick. You might recall the little box that you saw. See, the desk I have here at my clients is like right over there, and so I wanted to get in a space where I could kind of hear. And so the little room that's in the back is kind of a silent room, shall we say? Anyway, I'm back in that silent room right now, and well, let's just say that I'm doing a little bit of different technology over here, and some of it's working, some of it's not. But nonetheless, we are going to have a good work. Nonetheless, we're going to try and make this whole thing work, right? Right. Okay. But before we get into the program, we're going to do like we normally do, and we're going to start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with our friends at Hitman Industries. Hitman Industries, they make rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, there's a very good chance you already have one of their barrels, so you probably are enjoying it as we speak. So whether you're looking to do a brand new build or you're looking to rebarrel your old rifle, start your experience, start your journey with Hitman Industries at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the folks over at the California Republican Assembly working to help elect all the way up to President of the United States. You can check them out. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. If you want to learn why, all you have to do is go to their website. That's cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Go there and check them out. There we go. Okay, make sure. Okay, I don't know how much of all of that y'all heard, but we're gonna go ahead and just run back real quick. First of all, we're gonna talk about hogholster.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word. Go there and get your hog holster today. All right, go there, check them out today. Wow, this is really interesting because all of my stuff here is deciding it's just gonna move all on its own. So anyway. I think someone here is messing with me. Anyway, there we go. All right, folks, we're gonna make this whole thing work today. Yeah, this is what I get for trying something brand new. Yeah, the desk has just decided it's gonna move all on its own. Yeah, don't worry about it now. I'm in the middle of the program, but folks, I know folks right now are like, what is going on, Craig? Yeah, the technology here is just going off on me today. Anyway, next we have up next we have up uscombatgear.com, the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. Just go to Hog Holsters. I mean, it's a host. Just go to uscombatgear.com. Make sure you use the discount code. No, that. All right, I am just blowing this one here. Let's put this back like this. Here we go. All right. All right. Y'all are going to have to forgive me. This is what I get for trying something new today. You know, trying to be a little original, trying to be a little different, and my technology is just deciding it is going to treat me all different kind of ways, right? But hey, I'm here, you're here. We're having a good time. All right, we're having a good time with this, aren't we? All right, let's get into it. Let's just do this. Let's go ahead and get into today's news stories. We're going to start with a story out of Iran, and you may or may not have heard, but the folks, the leadership council there in Iran decided they were going to get together and they were going to elect a new supreme leader. Well, unfortunately, that didn't quite go so well, or at least hasn't. The vote has not gone so well, as the folks over at the folks over in Israel have decided that they were going to cast the decisive vote in who the new supreme leader was going to be. Check out the story.
The scene of one of these cluster munition impacts just outside of Tel Aviv, but I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and again speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader. The Iranians are continuing their attacks against Israel. Right now, we are in the community of Bnei Brak. It's a religious community outside of Tel Aviv. And you can see where the police and first responders.
So, in other words, what they're saying here is that, anyway, so what they're showing there is the results of the results of what occurred. Let me go over here to the actual story. Here we go. All right, it says here, Israel bombs council choosing Iran's next supreme leader. The Israeli Air Force on Tuesday struck the building housing Iran's Council of Experts in the holy city of Qom in an attempt to disrupt the process of appointing a new supreme leader. An Israeli Defense Council said. The Council of Experts is a body within the Iranian regime with the authority to appoint a new supreme leader. The clerics on the council vote on a short list of candidates being drafted by a smaller secret committee. Former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was assassinated Saturday along with dozens of senior Iranian leaders in the first wave of Israeli airstrikes. The Israeli defense official said the strike took place while votes were being counted. It isn't clear how many of the council's 88 members were in the building at the time, the extent of the damage. Quote, "We wanted to prevent them from picking a new supreme leader." That's once again is a quote coming from the official. Now, once again here, I'm just going to point this out. Their whole goal in this one was they don't want them selecting a new supreme leader. In particular, what they don't want is they don't want the clerics selecting a new supreme leader. And that is strategic. There is a reason behind it. There's a reason why that is, in fact, the case. And that's because in their eyes, that particular individual or the how shall we say, if a cleric were to be selected, their biggest concern, quite frankly, is that they would continue with the same war on Israel. And that's really because, keeping in mind, their war on Israel is, in their eyes, is a holy war. And their desire is to basically wipe Israel off the face of the map. I don't think anybody out there can doubt that is their particular goal. So what they're hoping, at least I believe what is Israel's hoping. Now, this was not something that was put together by the United States, although I would not be surprised if U.S. intelligence was involved in the process. That would not surprise me one bit if the U.S. were in fact involved in providing the intelligence that was used. But we also know that Mossad, let's just be real, Mossad is about as good as intelligence as anybody in the entire any group, any government in the entire world. They're about as good on intelligence as anyone could imagine anyone could be. And my guess is they probably kicked a lot of butt on this one. Is going to be my guess. Anyway, all of that having been said, let's just say that Israel decided that they were going to cast a decisive vote, and that's why I titled it the way that I did, because they decided that yeah, we're not going to have a religious figure making that choice, and it's a little hard to blame them for that, isn't it? I mean, can you really blame them for not wanting it to be another cleric? I don't know that you can really blame them. Once again, especially if you know that the ultimate goal of what it is that they're going to be trying to do is going to be to not select. It's going to be to wipe Israel off the face of the map. Anyway, but I don't know. I kind of thought that was a neat play on words. They cast a decisive vote. No vote as in none of the above. Anyway. Things are happening, and they're happening fast there in Israel, or not in Israel, in Iran. I know a lot of folks are talking about this being a forever war. I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing it. They already have sea dominance of the waterways. They already have dominance of the air. They've basically taken out the top 2-3 layers of government and government officials there in Iran. I got to imagine that pretty soon, whoever is selected as the next possible civic government leader, not religious leader, but civic government leader, I got to think that the next step is going to be that they're going to step up and they're going to want to surrender pretty darn fast. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know if that is in fact going to wind up being the case, but can you really expect that it's going to be? I mean, is there a reason to believe that it will be any different? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any anticipation, any reason why I would believe that it's going to wind up being any different. But who knows? When what do I know? Anyway. Moving right along, I also wanted to talk a little bit about Western media plays a big role in the kind of the perspectives of how people feel about all of this, right? And part of what they're doing with this is really kind of putting forward this flowery perspective of the Middle East and the way in which they try to, I don't want to say romanticize, but let's just say they definitely do not portray, they definitely have a certain perspective that they are trying to bring across when it comes to what the folks over there in Iran, who the enemies are, or who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And they definitely want to make it so that the United States and Israel are the bad guys. And that everyone else, all of the other, whether it is Iran, whether it is Hamas, they definitely want you to believe that they're the good guys. And I just wanted to share this with you because I came across this is just one example of kind of how the Western media is portraying the death of Ayatollah al-Khomeini. And to me, it's really kind of sick and grotesque, to be quite honest with you. And here, I'll read the title of it: a bushy beard and easy smile. Western media's grotesque framing of Ayatollah al-Khomeini's death. Let me read a little bit of the piece here. It says Ayatollah Khomeini was only the second supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. He assumed power in 1989 following the death of the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. And ruled for decades as the ultimate authority over a regime defined by repression, regional destabilization, and violent ideological extremism. His tenure was marked by systematic crushing of political dissent, imprisonment, torture, and execution of dissidents, a violent suppression of nationwide protest movements, the arming and financing of proxy militias across the Middle East, the institutionalization of chants like chants of death to America, and repeated threats of Israel. Right? But let's talk a little bit. It says here, under his leadership, Iran's Iran's security force opened fire on protesters during successive waves in 2009, 2019, and during the nationwide demonstrations that followed the death of Musa Amani in 2022. In January of this year, fresh nationwide protests once again were met with force. Independent analysts estimate that at least 30,000 people were killed. But check this out. It says here, state TV decried Western headlines, polished when the Ayatollah. Let me see here. If it doesn't make you angry, it should. The left. The New York Times calls the man who led the regime responsible for mass murder, repression, death to America chants a hardline cleric. So in other words, all he was a hardline cleric, right? And then here you have the Washington Post gushes over the bushy white beard and easy smile. Yeah, that's how they referred to him. Bushy white smile, a bushy white beard and nice smile. In other words, what they're trying to convince you of here, folks, is that this was just a misunderstood guy, right? He didn't really mean anything. He just wanted what was best for his people. This was a guy who had no problem killing his own people. This is the guy who, I mean, if you want to know who was funding the Somali pirates that were hijacking ships, yeah, that would be this guy. If you want to know who was funding Hamas and Hezbollah, like the October 7th attacks, that would be this guy. If you want to know just about every place where the West is militarily engaged in the Middle East, the funding came from this guy. You want to talk about who one of the number one producers and providers of oil is to Russia and China? This guy. And once again, not only did he cause havoc and destruction and murder throughout the world, causes a lot of havoc, murder, and destruction to his own people. If you dare speak up, if you dare say that, hey, we want to be a free people, he made sure that you were silenced. This is the guy that Western media is portraying as, I mean, almost, they're practically granting him sainthood. But then again, the problem is this, and I'll just say this, it's not as much that they are necessarily in love with this guy, it's that they hate Western culture, they hate America, and they most assuredly hate Donald Trump. And so if they have the opportunity to make him look bad, that is exactly what they're going to do. And that's what the goal here was. And once again, this is a way in which they're once again, their goal is to do whatever they can to make Donald Trump look like the villain. It's typical. It really is. And it is so typical that even if they try to even remotely claim, well, this is about loving America, all they're really doing is promoting hate of Donald Trump. And they're doing so to the detriment, I believe, of our country. And it's concerning. And I think that in the end, it's the reason why nobody is listening to them. It's the reason why, I mean, I want you to think about this. You have millions of people all over the world who are out there and they're chanting, and they're chanting pro-Donald Trump, chants. They're playing YMCA. You're not seeing many protests out there other than American liberals. Everybody else out there is celebrating the death of the Ayatollah Khomeini. Everybody else. Everybody except American liberals. And even then, at least half of them are celebrating his death. So that's got to tell you something. Anyway, moving right along, this is a story that we reported on when it happened, and now it looks like there's finally been some decisions in regards to the father of a gentleman who was committed a school shooting there in Georgia. It appears that the father has now been found guilty of murder and manslaughter. Let's read a little bit of story here from CNN. Wait, actually, let's do this real quick. There's a story that I pulled down. Let's see if I got it here. Yes, I do. I can go ahead. Let me play a little bit of this story for you so that you can. I'll play this and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it again on the other side. There we go.
A jury took less than 2 hours to find Colin Gray guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and multiple counts of reckless conduct and cruelty to children. Gray is the father of the now 16-year-old Colt Gray, who is accused of killing 4 people at the 2024 shooting at Appalachia High School. He gifted the weapon that was used in the shooting despite knowing of his son's fascination with school shooters and mental health issues. This case is the first time in state history that a parent has been tried and found guilty for a crime committed by their child. Experts say it could have big ramifications on cases moving forward.
I think that you'll see these things challenged, and the question, frankly, will become maybe one now not just of guns, but it's going to be other instrumentalities of death. And will prosecutors in some certain jurisdictions decide that they're going to move forward on cases that then expose parents to other criminal liability. Another example may be, well, what if there's a high school party at a parent's house, and the parents should know that their kids have been in trouble, or should know they shouldn't be left alone, or they've caught them with marijuana in the room, whatever, but yet they leave and allow the kid to have a party at the house and somebody overdoses on drugs. Is that parent now going to be liable for death? Can they be charged with a murder? These are real questions that are going to have to be answered.
Gray's attorneys are likely to appeal, setting up a lengthy legal battle for Georgia's higher courts to determine a balance between parental responsibility and criminal negligence. Colt Gray is yet to go on trial as prosecutors are awaiting the results of a mental evaluation.
All right, so you see here, this is kind of scary. This is literally. Well, first of all, I'm just going to say this. That's why we are supposed to be responsible as gun owners, right? Whether or not this individual is found legally culpable, there's a certain moral culpability this guy has. If you know that your minor child has issues, you should not be providing them access to firearms. I've had someone not in my immediate family, but someone who was staying with me, with our family, who had some challenges, and I made sure our firearms were locked up. I made sure that this individual did not have access to those firearms, because ultimately I'm responsible for what happens with my firearms. Now, if someone breaks in and someone steals them or something like that, that's a whole different story. But in this particular case, if he knew that first of all, he should have been trying to get his son some help. Once again, I don't know enough of the details of this case to determine whether or not he should have been held liable. I'd love to kind of see, some of the testimony and hear what other people had to say about what the father knew and didn't know, what he should have known. Primarily in order to see, did he take reasonable steps? Did he know that this was a danger? If he knew, well, once again, I don't know about murder. I don't know about manslaughter. I don't know about murder, maybe manslaughter. But like I said, in the end, we got to be responsible, folks. As gun owners, we have to be responsible. Once again, I'm just going to say it. I don't know whether or not he should have legally been held responsible, but he definitely has a moral responsibility. And we all, once again, as I'll say it again, we all have a moral responsibility to make sure that, when you know something, when you know that someone is a danger to themselves or others, you have somewhat of a responsibility to control access to stuff. I don't know about what this guy's talking about in terms of I think when you start talking about, leaving your kids home alone over the weekend, stuff like that, there's a lot that's going to go into some of these decisions. But I really do believe that, especially because we're talking in this particular case, guns, I definitely believe that this is going to definitely have a lot of scrutiny. There's definitely going to be a lot of eyeballs looking at this. And I think if you are a gun owner, you need to pay very, very close attention to this, because that means that you will not be the only person held accountable for your actions. In some cases, you could be held accountable for your inactions, meaning if you know someone's a danger to themselves or others, and you don't take reasonable steps to protect the rest of us from them or them from themselves, you may be held accountable in a court of law. This, I believe, is the extreme example. In terms of just, I mean, to me, this is when I say extreme example, I mean, yeah, this is a real question mark, and I believe it's a question mark that needs to be addressed. It really does. We need to really kind of think about this and how we handle this. I will say that I believe in the Second Amendment, and I believe we need to protect. We also need to protect individual rights, but with individual rights come responsibility. And when you knowingly shirk those responsibilities, there are many people out there who believe there needs to be a greater degree of accountability when you do. Anyway, I am very interested to see the outcome of this particular decision, or exactly see where this case goes. Definitely, it's not over. That's one thing that I definitely know. All right, and then finally, talk about being held accountable. Well, there's evidently a judge there in New York who does not believe that individuals need to be held accountable for the decisions that they make. In particular, when it comes to rioting at a university, breaking into and taking over a campus or a campus building, there's definitely a judge who believes that there's no accountability is needed. This is a story put out there by the folks over at the Washington Free Beacon. New York judge says Columbia cannot expel or discipline students who stormed and occupied campus building. New York Supreme Court ordered Columbia University to reverse disciplinary action against approximately 24 student radicals who stormed and occupied a campus building in late April 2024, arguing the Ivy League university illegally relied on sealed arrest records. The judge, New York State Supreme Court Justice Gerald Leibowitz, said in the ruling issued Friday that the sanctions against the students, which included suspensions, expulsions, and degree revocations, were arbitrary and capricious, arguing that even if arrest records were admissible, they established only that the students were present inside Hamilton Hall during the occupation. The record did not, however, contain evidence that students themselves acted to endanger Hamilton Hall or university property within Hamilton, Leibowitz wrote. The students' arrest records were sealed after Soros-backed Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg dropped trespassing charges against them. At the time, in June 2024, prosecutors argued that the students should get a pass because they did not have criminal histories and would face discipline at Columbia. The students had challenged their expulsions under something known as Article 78 proceeding, under which judges can review whether state agencies, or in this case, university administrative and disciplinary bodies, have applied their rules in an even-handed manner. Leibowitz said Columbia had not because, among other reasons, it could not distinguish between varying levels of involvement and culpability among students, thanks in part to the use of masks, keffiyehs, and destruction of security cameras. So in other words, because they were very good at covering up their crimes, they should not be held accountable. That's pretty much what the judge was saying. In other words, you can't distinguish who did what. I'm sorry, but the fact that they were there, that they were in the building, that they were occupying the building is evidence enough. The fact that they got arrested, once again, for illegally being in the building. Once you are asked to leave a building and you do not leave, you are now trespassing. They were trespassing as a part of the protest. As trespassing as a part of the protest, you have violated the law. You have violated school and campus policy, and therefore you should be held to account. Now, what's crazy is that they sealed the records under the belief that, well, they're going to be disciplined because they're not going to be prosecuted under the law because the school will discipline them. Now you're saying the school can't even discipline them. So does that mean that Alvin Bragg is going to bring up the charges again? Does that mean that they're now going to go to court? Because keep in mind, they shut down this building. They attacked Jewish students. They engaged in terrorist activities and need to be held accountable for that. Now, I get it. Maybe you agree with them, but you break the rules, and you need to be held accountable. In this particular case, it looks like nobody in particular is going to be held accountable for breaking the rules. Anyway, all right, folks, well, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. All you have to do is go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster today. Our parting shot today is going to come to us from the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. It's one of their lists. You know, I always love their lists. It says here, here's how major news outlets are reporting on the death of the Ayatollah. Fox News, Trump strikes Iran in perfectly executed military operation, because everything Trump does is perfectly executed. Anyway, New York Times, beloved statesman, grandfather, gone before his time. Yeah, that's pretty much how they did it. Khomeini, now Khomeini gone. Okay, New York Post did well. Newsmax. All earth bows before he who rescues us from oppression, dear glorious Trump. Yeah, Newsmax, yeah, they're kind of there. MS Now. Death of Khomeini could spell disaster for Iran's trans population. Oh, disaster? They probably got a better shot now. CNN. Iranians mostly mourning Ayatollah's death. LinkedIn. Here are 10 things the Ayatollah's death teaches us about increasing your ROAS and B2B marketing. NPR. Innocent Ayatollah was the greatest civil rights icon since George Floyd. Please give us money. Cosmopolitan. 10 steamy Khomeini fanfics guaranteed to turn you on. Okay, that's weird. The Clarion, student newspaper of the Cleveland High School. Chicken Nugget Day moved to next Thursday. Christianity Today, the gospel legacy of the Ayatollah and why Christians should grieve his death. Not the Bee, Trump's military straight up smoked Iran and the libs are crying. Okay, that one right there is, well, of course it's not the Bee, so of course they're going to be probably more accurate than anyone else. Why would they not be? Right? Anyway, and then the last one, Al Jazeera. Yeah, that's Al Jazeera. That's pretty much Al Jazeera. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's pretty much going to be it for today. Where am I at here? That's going to be pretty much it for today's program. Where are we at? There we go. Bring that over. Bring this up. I apologize for all the technical difficulties today. Once again, what happens when you try something new? In any case, we're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. First, we've got Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Find out why at cragop.org. Then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. And then you've got the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun, and that would be at uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you mañana.